Frick, a very dangerous hitter out of there. And then he went on to retire the side in the 4th. Misplayed fly ball, got him a run in the 6th. But I thought in the bottom of the 7th, Tim, actually you had 3 key hits after 2 out. Actually, a big hit by Blackwell. He was up there with a couple of strikes on him. He kept the inning alive. Dave Weininger, I thought, hit as good a pitch as Bartle could have possibly thrown. In on the fist, he busted it right off of the bat handle, and of course the big hit by Eder.
Right. As I say, Charlie was pesky at the plate all day, and I think with Charlie just being a sophomore and the other 2 boys a junior, you know, that type of experience and that type of sticking to the situation rather than, you know, giving up. All the hitters there, you know, I think he got 2 strikes on each of them going into that situation. Could have easily said, well, we'll wait till next inning. There are 2 out, but they kept, you know, pecking away and pecking away. I have to look back, you know, on Jasper's situation last year with Central. You know, you think that the dadgone thing, you know, was over with, and yet his kids hung in there, and you know, I saw a little bit of that in our kids today, and you know, it's a good thing to see. So, just, as I say, just a nice game to win.
Well, when Southridge got its run, of course, Dean Craig led off the inning with a double. He was sacrificed to 3rd. Jeff Mundy got that fly ball that actually would have been deep enough to score the run. It was misplayed, perhaps, into a double. And I guess there was really never any doubt in your mind then when Lindsey Frick, a dangerous hitter, came to the plate. What a sectional he had. No doubt that you were going to walk him and put up a force.
You know, we kind of look at Lindsey in the same category as Mike Berger, and as it turned out, it was a good move on our part. Next guy hit the ground ball to snare for the double play, but Lindsey's a fine athlete, and as I say, you know, I'm sure he would have liked to have hit, but you know, the thing to do was put him on, I felt like.
One of the times, Tim, that you were here in the regional in 1974, the year you won the regional, it was a bizarre win, if you recall, in that ball game with Washington. Then you went into the semi-state and was taken out of it in the title game, almost in a similar bizarre manner with a base runner getting hit.
Well, that was in 73, Bob. 73. Right. I don't know. Maybe there's such a thing as poetic justice. I don't know. But true, the ground ball that my runner says ricochets off the edge of the grass. The umpire said hit him in the heel. Was a little bizarre. 74 was Jasper when one of the few times, I guess, that we beat them was 5-1. Was a good one. And then Memorial, I guess, made us pay for beating them in 73 because I think they got us something like 13-2, 13-3. So, but as I say, you know, I'll take my chances on getting smacked in the semi-state if we get out here tonight.
Bedford's a team that one of the few teams around, Tim. I think maybe they have a slight edge series-wise on you. If so, not by much.
Well, could be. I wrote that stuff down for you, but I don't remember really keeping that much track of it. I know we played Bedford several times down here, and then, of course, played them in the season. Bedford, I think, is, what, near 500 now. I'd say that maybe they're playing their best ball or kind of on an upswing, and, you know, I don't think we can really go by the record, the fact they're at 500. They play a good schedule. Orville does a good job. This is Orville's last year. You know, they got maybe some sentiment going their way, whatever you want to call it. But, you know, we're very leery of them. We're not overlooking them.
Well, I'm sure late in the season, Tim, your ball club had climbed to number 5, and I guess after the Jasper loss, you went something like, 5 out of 6 you'd lost, and then kind of turned it around real late in the season. But well, I'm sure you had some really second thoughts there after getting off to that great start.
Well, we lost, as you mentioned, we lost 4 out of 5, but we lost to a good Bloomington South Ball Club, Bob, 3-2, 4-3. You know, I don't get too depressed in situations like that. We came back, I think, lost a 5-4 ball game, you know, with Pike Central. Kenny Lynham Box Ball Clubs always play us strong. Southridge, as I say, they got us 4-1. You know, we didn't panic. We're a little concerned. I think, you know, all teams, be it basketball, football, baseball, you know, you go through a little bit of mental fatigue, regardless if you're just practicing and not playing a great deal of games, or regardless if you're playing several ball games and not practicing. It's something that I think all ball clubs go through. It's something the kids have to work through, something the coaches have to work through. I'm glad, you know, it hit, you know, at the time that it did. Baseball coaches in the spring of the year fight problems dealing with proms, dealing with graduation, dealing with kids being out of school, getting jobs. All of these things come into play that some of the winter sports programs don't experience. So as I say, it's something that we work through, and all ball clubs are going to have to do that.
Well, you're here, and of course, anything can happen when you get in a title game, and certainly thanks for talking with us. Good luck to you tonight, Tim.
Okay, nice talking with you, Bob.
Regional with a 5-3 win over Bedford North Lawrence Monday are rated 7th in the Indiana Baseball Coaches Poll and carry a 26-7 record into the game. Memorial won the South Spencer Regional with a pair of 5-4 wins over Mount Vernon and 20th-ranked Castle. The Tigers have the worst record of the 16 teams still in the tournament with a mark of 15-15. In today's second game, Mooresville puts its 25-6 mark on the line against Jeffersonville. The Red Devils are 23-8. WITZ-FM will air the Loogootee Memorial Contest. If the Lions win, the title game will be carried tonight at 8 o'clock. In Jasper City softball action last night, it was Century 21-10, Style Masters 8.
Southridge Raiders 2-1, scoring the winning run in the bottom half of the 7th. With 2 outs, you got 3 consecutive hits. The kids really came through for you.
Well, right, Jay, we, I guess, very easily could have maybe given up, and especially, I guess, Charlie Blackwell after 2 were out, and Charlie had 2 strikes on him, and, you know, he could have, as I say, easily given up and said, well, we'll, you know, try to get him the next inning, but he kept fouling some pitches off, and Charlie had been pretty pesky at the plate all day, and he just hung in there, and finally the pitcher got one up, and he got the base hit, and then, of course, David ended up with 2 strikes on him, basically got jammed with a pitch, and able to get the thing out over the shortstop's head, and then, of course, Paul nailed that one into center field for the winning run. So, as I say, I'm pretty proud of him at that point in time.
And in the championship game, for the first time in the tourney, you fell behind, had to come from 3 runs back, knocked off Bedford North Lawrence 5-3, not fact where you pecked away from inning after inning after inning. You got 4 runs in the 3rd inning.
Well, you know, looking back at that ball game and in that first inning, and as I told the kids the other day at practice, the difference between maybe this ball club and others that we have taken down there is that at a critical point in time, we didn't execute, or we didn't get things shut down, or we didn't come back. We could have very easily got hurt worse in that first inning. You know, should have got out of the inning with maybe just 1 run scoring. Maybe poor judgment in execution at a point in time, but as I say, things could have been worse. Got out of it in good shape with just 3, and, you know, I felt, and I'm sure the kids felt, you know, we could overcome 3 runs that early in the ball game. So, as I say, again, they were able to come back, and as I say, this made the difference with this ball club.
Well, your pitching staff in the regional came up with a couple of 2 hitters. David Weiniger probably pitching as well as he can, and then Charlie Blackwell starting in the championship game with Weiniger picking up the save.
Right, as you just mentioned, Dave threw probably about as well as he has all year. He kept the ball down, I think, was probably the biggest accomplishment. And with Charlie, you know, Charlie has been adequate, or more than adequate, all year, and we didn't want to have to bring Dave in as early as we did, but as I say, it turned out that way. And then as we talked to Charlie, you know, through the rest of the game, you know, now you've got to get us, you know, a couple more innings. And as we told Charlie going into that 5th and 6th, you know, we've got to get these out of you. And you know, he did the job, and we were pretty well set. You know, if one guy got on, and then we were going to bring David in. Thought seriously about starting Charlie back the 7th, but or starting David in that 7th, but didn't. And I thought, you know, maybe just the experience and showing confidence in Charlie, that, you know, we felt like he could get the job done, leaving him in. As I say, you know, hopefully all these kids are going to be back next year, and that tourney experience is just, you know, invaluable.
Talking about your experience, even though you do have the 1 senior on the ball club and Greg Clark, you have the rest of the roster, sophomores, juniors, and freshmen, but you're a rather experienced ball club, even though you only had the 1 senior.
Right, Jay. Last year, as I say, we started 5 sophomores, and this year, with them being juniors, as I say, they played 30-some games last year. They're well into 30 games this year, so they're young, as I say, but they're experienced. As I say, I guess they're veterans at this point in time.
Well, the old axiom in high school baseball that you need 2 strong pitchers to be competitive in tourney action. You have 3 in Weiniger, Blackwell, and Rick Schneier.
Right. Rick has a 5-4 record for us this year. Probably at the start of the season, we seriously considered making Ed Harder probably our number 3 pitcher, but Ed had an operation on a toe and consequently got about a 3-week late start, and which kind of forced Rick into pitching. In all honesty, we feel like Paul Ader could have probably filled that role. We did pitch Paul some this year. Paul is a left-hander, a good all-around athlete, and you know, he could have very well filled that slot. A freshman by the name of Tracy Winslow, we pitched right off the bat an inning or so against South Bend, Washington, who won the South Bend Regional and did a real fine job. And had he not had to be relied on for B-team ball, I feel like that would have been invaluable experience for him. And looking in terms of next year, it may be that we may try to move Winslow into that number 3 spot so that we've got some experience pitching coming back each year and try to leave the snare boy there at shortstop.
Well, going into the tourney, you had played 29 games, and with your new playing facility and competitive schedule, that has to be a big advantage.
It is an advantage. The IHSAA allows a team to play 30 games, and I would say that most of the schools try to schedule near 25 to 30 with the idea that some are going to get rained out, and maybe if you can get in 20, 21, 22 games, you're very fortunate. With our facility, rarely do we have one rained out. If we get rain the night before and get 3 or 4 hours of sunlight, then we're able to play. Now, if it's cloudy or we get rain, you know, that morning and it still drizzles, stays cloudy, then we have a problem. But we're fortunate, probably more so than most schools, that a lot of times we're able to play and they're rained out.
Speaking of the weather, I understand we've got a threat of rain tomorrow, and that was a problem last weekend. But with the fact that Mooresville has to travel a great distance and Jeffersonville has to come rather far away, that could be a big problem this weekend.
It sure could, Jay. You know, a coach a little paranoid anyway, but you wonder, you know, how well you would have played had you played Saturday. You know, maybe you wouldn't have won it. Maybe you would have won it easier. Getting into this situation could be a little more critical for ball clubs in a regional. This year, the state term is on a Thursday evening due to the National Coaches Clinic being in Indianapolis, and they kind of wanted to showcase the Indiana High School baseball final. So the first round of the tournament has been moved to Thursday evening at 5 or 5:30, and then at 8 o'clock. Well, you know, we played Monday, and then we let the kids off Tuesday and made it optional Wednesday if they wanted to hit, and then came back Thursday. And the Weininger boy and the Blackwell boy still experienced some stiffness, some soreness. You know, they've got that adrenaline flowing. They're throwing that ball maybe just a little harder than what they did during the season. And as I say, they still had some stiffness. So if we're rained out and we play Monday, and then we'll say a team should happen to win, and then you've got to come back Thursday, that's going to be a disadvantage. Say you're rained out Monday and you've got to play Tuesday. Okay, now here you're going into a state championship game with your pitchers with just 2 days rest. That may force you to have to go with your number 3. So, you know, I'm sure that some coaches have their fingers crossed.
Well, your top 5 hitters are batting well over 300. Good power, good speed in the top 5 positions.
For high school athletes and for a school our size, true, Jay, we're very fortunate. We have not only a good group of kids, but they are good athletes. And those 5 I would put up against probably any 5 in the state.
Mark Clemens, who bats 7th, 8th, your starting catcher. Interesting statistic about him, 32 walks.
Right. The batting practice pitchers get a little aggravated with Mark. They say he's too picky. And he does have a good eye. Seriously, maybe considering moving him to maybe lead off next year. He has adequate speed. Set a school record. Jamie Weininger had the record last year, I think, for 30 walks, and lo and behold, but Jamie was our leadoff hitter. You know, he's going to be taking pitches, batting several more times. Here, Mark's down in the 7th or 8th slot and breaks that record. Mark is capable of hitting the ball. He's got a little uppercut to his swing that we hope to correct this summer, and but he has good power. Probably as strong a kid as we've had at play. Catching-wise, Mark has done an excellent job for us this year, along with the other backup catcher, sophomore Jimmy Whiteside, especially in terms of blocking pitches. As far as throwing people out, I would have to say that probably Mark has thrown more people out for us than any other catcher we've had, and has worked on it. And as I say, we provided them with quite a bit of literature and gave them some drills to do early in the year, and they've been pretty faithful to them. And I think Mark had a pass ball Saturday. I felt like Jamie Weininger, the kid who caught last year, was probably as good as any catcher we've had in blocking the ball. And Mark, as I say, he's getting there, and the pitchers have a great deal of confidence in him now. And, you know, we try to gear our kids, you know, if that catcher blocks one, you know, I want a compliment coming in there on him, because that's a thankless job back there, and it's, you know, very important.
Oh, from Clemens, one up the middle, defensively, outstanding, very sound.
Adequate, very adequate. The past couple years we have ran our pitchers from the mound to second base, and probably have turned more double plays due to the fact that a little stronger arm, your pitchers are your better athletes. Years past we would run them maybe at first base or run them from pitching to the outfield. I don't really like to rotate them, I guess you would say. I'd rather leave a kid at a position, but we're just kind of forced. And as I say, they're talented enough that they can handle it. So as long as we can get by, I guess we'll stick with that.
Well, Tim Walker and Ed Harder, talk about them. They done some clutch hitting, some good hitting in the tournament.
With the Walker boy, very definitely. As I mentioned in the paper, and as probably most know, Tim played third for us last year. We made some adjustments defensively, and Tim is getting acclimated to left field, has retained a very positive attitude, and you know, is working hard, you know, at that position. As I say, has helped the ball club defensively. We made some adjustments, hopefully to you know, to help us offensively also. But I feel like, you know, you've got to be adequate at the defense end of it. And as I say, Tim Walker, as I mentioned before, you know, he's kind of small in stature, but he's a pretty big fella inside. The Harder boy, beginning to hit the ball of late. As I say, he got off to a slow start due to a toe operation. Has an adequate arm in left field, but a couple of fly balls, he kind of looked like a pig on ice out there. But you know, if you watch that flag, Jay, that wind changed directions several times out there, and the ball got up on him, and he circled that one and finally got to it. The other one, I think Ed was seriously considering, you know, he's going to try to gun that guy out at the plate, and by the time he got his bearings, that ball kind of took off on him. But as you know, I've got a great deal of confidence in it out there.
According to United Press International, Loogootee, the team to beat in the semi-state. Taking your team into account, what you've got this year and the other teams in the field, do you feel maybe this is your best shot to date at a trip to Indianapolis?
Well, as I try to tell the kids, you know, you make do with what's developing at the particular point in time. I know last year got kind of aggravated with my sophomores. They talked in terms of going to the state their senior year, and I kind of climbed their frames with that, basically, that you don't put things off, because the next years oftentimes don't materialize. You go at them that year, and as I say, we finished 21-9 last year. Here we're moving along at a decent pace, and as I told them the other day, you know, I talked to sports writers and I think, well, you know, you're really going to be tough next year. Well, you know, that may not materialize. You know, they may not work as hard, they may be satisfied, or, you know, there's a lot of intangible things that could happen. So I think we want to try to, you know, do as best. As far as being our best shot, I don't know, could be. I'm surprised, you know, they're ranked us the team to beat. I don't relish that idea, and I really don't feel that way. Maybe it's because we're ranked. That's the reason. I think when you take into consideration the schedule of Jeffersonville, you know, we play some of the teams that we play. We play, I feel, a very competitive schedule for a school our size. But I feel feel like scheduling-wise, Jeff would have to rank in there. Mooresville with the overpowering pitcher, Jack McGuire, and their program would have to rank up there. Memorial, again, you know, probably a surprise, but I tell you, you play against ball clubs coached by Quentin Merkel, and you got problems. You know, they're not very flashy, but they're very effective. And as I say, they're fundamentally sound, and you know, they're going to peck away at you, and let you beat yourselves.
Remember back in 1973, one of the best high school games I've ever seen. Loogootee edging by Memorial 1-0 in extra innings. Then you came back against Jeffersonville in the championship game and lost by either 1 run or 2 runs, and you had the bases loaded in your last at bat.
Right, 73, as I told the kids the other day, and we tried to provide them with a little background dealing with the Loogootee Memorial Series. You know, I kind of pointed out that here in 73, I guess it would have been just my 3rd year as head coach, and just took a kind of a green bunch of kids down there with a coach just happy to be there, and didn't know very much about Memorial. I think they had been maybe to the state the year before, and lo and behold, we took them out of the tournament 1-0. Bottom of the 7th in the 9th inning, we had 2 outs. Danny Jones got hit with a pitch. Alan Crane was batting. I think Al had struck out 3 times that day, but you know, the Weesett kid for Memorial had struck out, I guess, 17 or 18 of us. And Alan was a good hitter. You know, it was just a matter of time, and the count was 2-2, and you know, we stumbled on sending the runner, and lo and behold, Alan cracked it off the left field fence, and Dan scored. I guess, as I say, that aggravated Memorial a little bit, because we won the regional in 74, come back against Memorial. You know, we're happy to be there and shaking hands and all that. Memorial, they're all business, and boy, they smacked us something like 13-2. So, as I said, that must have aggravated them. Championship game with Jeffersonville, I doubt if I ever forget it. We had a bases loaded, as you just mentioned, 2 outs. Mark Riggins, pitching in the Cardinal organization now, was batting and hit a ground ball between 1st and 2nd. Runner on 3rd scored. The right fielder retrieved the ball, made a play on the runner at home. The umpire called him safe, and then he stepped out in front of the home plate and called the guy out. True, the ball took a funny hop. If you've been on the Jasper infield, they edge that, and it's about an inch, inch and a half, 2-inch depth there. My runner swears it hit the edge of that grass. The umpire said it hit his heel. We had an umpire at 1st, umpire at 2nd, umpire at 3rd. He didn't check with them, but you know, reflecting back through the game, the fellow that was the last tournament that he was going to call, he was kind of up there in age, and I think he went out of the game calling just like when he started. He may have been the only umpire when he started, and when he got to this point in time, he wasn't going to accept any advice or help from anyone else. I know we tried to appeal a couple of check swings and nothing doing. It's a judgment call. There's nothing that, you know, we could do. I guess if we get by Memorial, subconsciously we would like to see Jeff in that championship game.
Loogootee's fans very fired up about today's action. You've had great fan support all the way.
We have. During the season, we, of course, play our games at 4 o'clock, Jay, which is unhandy for a lot of them. But, you know, Loogootee is a sports-minded community. They're a competitive community. They take a great deal of pride in, you know, in all their sports and school functions. And when, you know, the Lions play at a time where most of them can attend, they're going to be there. We had a great crowd at the sectional. The Monday afternoon that we played, even last year in the regional, we had the biggest crowd down there. I told the kids, you know, you see the great crowd that we have at the basketball game, you know, come the regional championship time, they're going to be down there. Fact is, I told our bat girls, now you get that middle section, you sit in there, we were down there early, you sit there, and that's where our fans need to be, rather than be strung out. And, you know, we filled that section. And, you know, I see some of them that, you know, maybe I haven't seen down there since 73 or 74. All of a sudden, you know, everyone becomes an expert and a coach. We had hitting practice last night on the old field. I swear we had more people watching hitting practice than we had at some of our games. You know, it's a good feeling, a good atmosphere, and, you know, we like it.
Good luck in the semi-state.
Thanks, Jay.